Hey everybody, it's Jamie from Lemon Rebellion, and I'm here today as part of our human interest series to get to know Vidya. Vidya, already just talking to you before we started recording, I'm so excited to learn more from you, and we're all going to be excited to hear your story. I'm going to let you, though, pronounce your last name because you were trying to teach me before and I failed epically. Well, tell us your full name, Vidya.
Okay. And before I dive into that, thank you for the opportunity. Just, I'm a raconter, and sharing my stories in meaningful ways is actually my life's sacred work. This is literally, I'm living my life's work right now. So this is great. The last name or the full name. So it's Vidya Ananthanarayanan.
I love it. Wonderful.
Okay.
Beautiful name.
So fun fact here, a couple of fun facts here. In my part of southern India, we take our father's first name. So Ananthanarayanan is my dad's first name.
Okay.
So we switch every generation. And of course, because it's Sanskrit, we're all given names that have meaning and purpose. Vidya is the Sanskrit word for knowledge and wisdom.
Beautiful.
Ananthanarayanan is a compound word. So Ananta means eternal or infinite. Yes. And Narayanan is another name for Vishnu, one of the three gods in the Indian Trinity. He's the guardian, the nurturer, but God, right? So I joke that I'm the infinitely wise goddess.
I mean, that's what your name says. So I'm going to go with that too. That's what it's all about. I love it. Thank you for sharing the root of the name. That's beautiful. Beautiful. So tell us more about your story. This series is about going from adversity to advantage and creating opportunity even in the midst of the hard times. And this story relates somehow to you. So tell us more about you.
Ooh, which story to pick? So I will confess that I'm a serial lifepreneur, which means every so often I burn my life down. I start over.
Okay.
Just one of those things I do. But in terms of adversity, my adversity has not really been in the material context. I've really been blessed and I'm extremely grateful that no matter what, there's always been a measure of material comfort. I've really not had too many times when I've had to. But I've been like, how some people really go through that. Oh my God, where is my next rent going to come from? Or it's a consistent theme, but it's not been that way for me. But I will start with, my journey to the United States because I think that's apropos. I was 30 when I did that. For any of your audience who are into human design, I am a 6-2 manifesting generator in my Vedic profile. So 30 is a key year. That's the end and culmination of our first triphasic part of our lives. So left behind everything familiar and known. Came to Abilene, West Texas. I mean, it doesn't get more.
That's probably very different.
Yeah, very different. And by choice, because that's the university and the school I wanted to go to. So I came to do my master's, but I came with just enough for one semester. That was it. I had enough money, enough resources for one semester. And then I was on my own. I had to find a job, something. So not specifically adversity, but, I kind of had to work on it. And it's just, I still remember my entry into this country. I mean, here I'm coming from India. So of course, we've loaded up those bags with everything we can pack. Like we're hitting the limit, right? Because you're conserving money. Like those rupees don't go too far in Indian dollar. And I remember trying to get it off the conveyor belt and nobody would lift a finger to help me. And I'm sitting here going, what makes America so great? Like, really? This is how you treat someone who comes in? And on top of it, I had a gentleman say, well, that will teach you to load up your bags.
Oh, not kind.
Oh, it was not. I mean, it was like, so, no offense, but my estimation of America went down massively. I'm like, seriously? Why did I do this again? Like, what made me do this?
Yeah.
Good news is things changed when I got to the campus because I was at a liberal arts university and they were much more world aware. It was also a very missionary campus. So it did mollify me to some extent, but it was not, if there was an adversity, it was that moment. Here I am in a strange country.
A lot of uncertainty too. You threw yourself in a new country, a new setting. You weren't sure about what you're going to do after that first semester. So I mean, adversity, I think, also implies within it that uncertainty of, okay, I'm doing this, I'm taking a leap of faith, but I'm not quite sure, sounds like, how you were going to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention that I spoke English. They spoke American, and some people spoke Texan.
Different language altogether, I take it.
Same words. It's all English, but here I am going,
Huh?
what do you say? I don't get the accent. I don't get the word. Or someone would say, well, thank you for visiting me when I popped in to ask something. And I'm like, I didn't visit. Oh, well, I have to share this, of course, because biscuits.
Okay.
I'm in Texas.
Biscuits.
And I'm with a host family for the first night. And she very kindly informs me that we are going to have biscuits for breakfast. And I'm sitting here going, what kind of strange country is this? They have biscuits for breakfast? I'm going to starve in this country because for us, biscuits are cookies.
Oh, no. Okay.
So, I mean, just little instances like that. Yeah. And even though it could have been challenging, they made those moments, where you learn to find the humor in it.
Yeah.
Or when you turn out to be the only person in the lab who adores country music, except you didn't know it was country music. It was just pop music. So you're building out, She Finds My Tractor Sexy, along with Kenny Chesney. And they're all looking at me like, how do you know that song? You're from India.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
Right. So it's those, you find those moments, right, to roll with it. And you roll up your sleeves and you get to work. See, that's always been me. I've never been one which is not to say that you don't feel the emotional feels of, oh my God, strange country, and I'd gotten in a little too late to get any kind of graduate assistantship. So what am I going to do? Where's it going to come from? Those doubts, those fears, they absolutely rise up. But I grew up in a household of personal development. My father was into J. Krishnamurti. I grew up seeing Leo Buscaglia, Eric Berne, transactional analysis. I was 18 years old when he took me to a talk by J. Krishnamurti. I fell asleep, but something seeped in, I hope. So, so I can't, or maybe it's innate, I don't know, but I mean, for me, it was not unusual to go, okay, if not this, then what? What are my other options? And I just started looking for, work, not so much work study, but, any place where I could be hired for my skills. I mean, at 30, I came in with a body of work as well.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what happened. I got hired by the Center for Learning Technology, which was actually really fun because up until then, my background, my expertise had been in journalism and mass communication. That was what the program I was in. This sort of gave me the opportunity to take those skills into a new direction around instructional technology. Ooh. So I ended up actually being sort of like a project lead, even as a graduate student employee. I ended up working a lot with faculty and helping them, and again, I could be both. I could be geek, but then I could also speak English. So I was a good bridge. I was a good interface, which was great because eventually, yes, like everybody else, I graduated, found a job here in San Antonio, Texas. And it led me to the job I did for a long time, but I found a job 6 months down the line. So this is, so for some context, if you're unfamiliar with how we come in as international students, we come in typically for a master's on a 3-year visa. You get 2 years to do your program, and then you get 1 year on what's called OPT, which is optional practicum training or something. So you come in with that visa. So I got the job, and of course, every dream, right? Oh, I get the job, they'll sponsor my H-1B, and then I'll be here.
Yeah.
Well, 6 months down the line, I get laid off. 6 months left on my visa. I have 1 month of rent available to me, like rent and food and all of that.
Yeah.
I'm an alien. They don't tell me about COBRA. They don't tell me about unemployment. I get no information whatsoever. So I'm back to pretty much where I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Wondering where the heck I go from here, right? And I did exactly the same thing, only this time I did it a little differently. I created an Excel spreadsheet and I started putting out all my different skills, started looking at what was available. And I think perhaps this is the biggest lesson I would offer. Don't underestimate the power of your support network, because you never know who might say what and where the opportunity might come. So my roommate at the time, she said, "Oh, have you considered working for a university?" It didn't even occur to me because, I mean, you say, duh, I mean, I was a
It
graduate
makes sense to
student.
me when you said it, yeah. But sometimes
Right?
it's the thing in front of our face. Yeah.
Right, we don't, right? It's our blind spot. We literally don't see what's in front of our nose. And so I said, oh, yeah. And that actually led to, I love startup, serial lifepreneur, right? Anything startup. I'm an entrepreneur, anything startup. So that actually led to a position as the instructional support manager with a local campus, a local liberal arts university called Trinity University. And I mean, it was just, because it was a university, they were willing to sponsor my H-1B. It was on a different track. So the universe in her infinite wisdom went, I'm yanking you out of this job because you need to be there, but we as muggles don't see it.
Yeah.
Right? So it really, yeah, but then that was 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And I got hired in August.
Amazing.
And September 11 happened. 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
So again, that was that moment of,
did that affect you in any way personally? What happened because of that with you?
For me, it was again the uncertainty of, will my visa come through?
You were worried about your visa. Okay.
Yeah, right. I've gotten this far. Now what?
Now what? You thought maybe it would be revoked, or the process wouldn't go through, or what happened?
Or yeah, there would be it would be interrupted. It would be halted. What do I do then? Will I continue to be employed? I mean, so it with me, I've noticed this pattern of, ooh, you got comfy. We're going to yank the rug from underneath your feet. Yeah.
So you're really resourceful, though. You open up your eyes, you look around, and things come to you. That must have been awful, though, to feel like that you personally were somehow going to feel like your position in the U.S. was insecure because of something that had nothing to do with you, just because of having an immigrant status.
Well, immigrant, the way I look, I have a friend who was in New York at the time. She was much, much darker, and she got accosted on the roads.
God, that's awful.
So, we were feeling the ramification. And I'd had some experiences even as a student where the ethnocentricity was very, very obvious, and sort of it was obvious that they lived in a little bubble, and, the arrogance that comes.
Yeah,
again,
I'm sorry.
There is a part of that part of the stereotype is real, but it is offset by many, 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 many other people who are out of that realm. But it's there. It's very much there.
I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that over the years, well, I would say I'd hope it would change, but I have a feeling that in recent times it's not really gotten any better, especially.
Well, in recent times, what has come into my awareness, because again, coming from India, we kind of think of identity micro to macro rather than macro to micro. So my first immediate identity is, like I said, I'm a Tamilian. That's my first immediate.
Right.
I'm a Tamilian, and within the Tamil community, I'm a Brahmin. So Tamilian, Brahmin,
okay,
then South Indian,
okay,
then Indian, then you come out where it's the other way around, right? Everybody's just American, period. End of story.
Very interesting, the perspective with which you build up that identity. I bet, how do you think that affects the way, maybe this goes kind of outside the scope of our interview, but I'm just super curious. How do you think that affects the way people perceive who they are and how they interact with people that are different than maybe that perception of the group?
I think at least contextually, I really think it's more what I've seen happen here, because I think other parts of the world are far more world aware than the United States is.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? It's not going to happen in Canada as much. It is a patchwork quilt. Doesn't happen in Europe. Yep. No matter what the dissonance is, there is an awareness.
Yes.
Whereas here the expectation is you will just subsume into this entity called American. Period. End of story. Yeah. You will become the melt. So you lose that. And it's so for me, I think it was always and it continues to be very, very important. But what I marvel at is how much I ended up learning about my own culture because I was out of it. Now I found myself explaining, well, are you Hindi? No, that's a language. It's actually Hindu. And oh, by the way, Hindu is not even a real word. The British made it up 200 years ago. It has nothing to do with India, which is actually called Bharat, and it's a geographical reference because it actually means the Indus River. Technically, all Indians who live in India are Hindus, if you really look at it that way. What now?
Yeah.
So it changed my perception of even my own culture, which is, I think, the blessing of traveling abroad. You really lean into what makes me tick. Like you said, am I more resourceful because I came from a culture where I came from a developing country?
Yeah.
I'm used to power outages. It doesn't freak me when a freak winter storm shows up in San Antonio and we have no power for whatever. I'm just like,
You're like,
okay, buckle down and get to work, like you said,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm used to going without water. I'm used to going without power for long times. And I think that just makes us that much more, especially, and especially if you're the eldest, and I'm the eldest in my family, and I mean eldest, even my cousins are younger than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You grow up fast because you just become responsible. So I think I think I'm realizing for the first time how much that resourcefulness is actually a part of having grown up in a developing nation, and interacting within even that country with people from many different languages, many different contexts, many different cultures and ethoses.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective. And I imagine with that diversity of, like you said, different kinds of people and languages, and the uncertainty in some ways of, or certain things that maybe in the US it's so easy to take for granted, in a developing country they're not. And so you learn how to adapt and change and pivot and move forward. And I can relate to that. I don't know if I told you, I live in Ecuador, so I went developing country to developing country.
Yeah,
I've gone the
cool.
other way, but learned some similar insights and lessons from just that richness of perspective that you get by plucking yourself out of one place and moving to another one.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I guess for me to kind of circle back a little bit, adversity, I don't really, these words don't exist in my lexicon. Failure is not a word that exists in my lexicon. It's just something that didn't work. That's all. I call it, my mantra these days, again, thanks to human design, I'm wired for experimentation. That is just part of how I'm wired.
Yeah.
So for me, nothing is ever a failure. It's like, oh, that didn't work. Okay, let's try that. Oh, that didn't work either. Let's try that. It's just that didn't work then. So I call it the try, tweak, twerk.
Ooh, tell me about this.
Right?
Okay.
So you try it. It doesn't work. You tweak it. It doesn't work. You tweak it again. It doesn't work. You tweak it again until one day it works and you're going, woohoo! And you twerk. And then you start all over again on the next experiment, which in my case, since I'm a serial lifepreneur, it happens to be a life experiment.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, that's awesome. Try, tweak, twerk. I love it. I really appreciate what you say with this perspective of there is no failure, that you don't even have the word adversity in your lexicon, because it sounds like failure is feedback. It's just information to help you know what to do next. And I assume adversity, with, it sounds like, and I'd love to hear you echo back if this is the way it is, or help me refine my understanding, but almost like adversity doesn't exist because it's just, you just take it and you move forward and you find a new way to move forward. Your visa might fall through. Okay, let's look, or has fallen through. Let's look for a new place to get employed and just pivot quickly with that information of what's been changing around you. I can see how that altogether almost dissolves. Not that it makes things easier, but because we're not talking about easy, comfortable life. We're talking about being able to respond quickly to those changes in the environment and just keep moving forward, whether it's by leaps and bounds or teeny tiny steps. Yeah. Have I understood you, or how would you react kind of to that?
That's absolutely it. And I think the layering that, well, I'm 52 now, so 22 years later, at least, and a lot more if you consider, the prior 30 years in India, because even in India, it was not as if it was all cushy. Even in India, I had an experience where I was laid off with just one. And in India, you get laid off, they don't even take care of you. So my roommate and I got laid off a week apart, literally. And we had just moved to a new apartment with a higher rent.
Sure.
So we had to kind of, go in and say, hey, you need to give us at least a month's salary each so we can take care of ourselves for a month while we look for another job type thing. Excuse me. So these circumstances weren't new. And even on the personal front, I got married very, very young. I got married at, and not an arranged marriage, because I know everybody thinks Indian interarrangement. In my case, it was not.
Thank you
Did this by choice.
Thank you
and and 4 years later, I was like, done with it.
Happens.
Got it. So I was divorced. I was married at 21 and divorced at 25.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it was probably the first time I got a good look at what I wanted. Mm-hmm. Who was I? Where was I in that space and time? What did I want? What did I deeply, madly, truly, to riff off Savage Garden for a little bit, one of my favorite bands.
I love
madly, I know, right? Truly, madly, deeply, and the other one, which is kind of, there's a little bit of a funny story there too as well. But it was the first time I leaned into it and could really pursue that. But then when we got laid off, both my friend and I said, we're just not even going to look for a job. We're going to take time off and clear our heads. And that is not done in India. And it's especially not done by women. And so my mom's jumping up and down and going, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I'm like, kind of chill. We've got some savings. We're going to travel a little bit. We're going to see, parts of the country we haven't seen, and just clear our head. That's the whole point. We don't know where we want to go next, but we won't know that if we are trying to think about it. We're just going to be. And my dad is the first feminist I've ever encountered. So my dad is, and he is in funny ways the feminine side of the equation. Like he was the nurturer, and the dad was like, yeah, go do that. And J. Krishnamurti, right? Freedom from the known. Go to explore the unknown, and I'll if you need to, we'll support you and go do it. So we ended up moving from Delhi to Mumbai with no job in hand. Nothing.
Yeah.
Just two young women in their late 20s moved to Mumbai, found a little paying guest accommodation, and then started looking for jobs because we were ready at that time to look for the job. She is still with that same company where she got hired. I jumped two companies and then eventually jumped the country altogether and landed here.
Well, that's amazing. What do you think it is, Vidya, about the way you see the world, or the way you've come to understand things, that has given you that ability to just pop, see the new, move, make the decision, take the risk? What is it about you in particular that's made you that way?
So like I said, I think part of it is my wiring. And like I said, in the human design framework, I call it a framework. I am what's called a 1-3. And the 3 comes from the I Ching. So that's a line 3. The line 3 is epitomized by they're adventurers, they're explorers. They are wired that way. They're actually, actually they are experiential learners. That's really more accurate. Okay. So we actually engage in this way because we don't learn from success, we learn from failure. We need to fail. What used to scare the bejesus out of me, especially when I launched my business in 2017, was not fear of failure. It was fear of success. So I kept self-sabotaging myself to fail because I was so scared of success. Because if I was successful, then where do I go? What do I do? It's a business. That's all that's there in front of me. And I'm a multi-potentialite. One business.
Yeah.
Right? So you can self-sabotage yourself against success, which is not commonly thought of because most people are dealing with failure. But I think that's part of it. Absolutely. But then there's, numerologically speaking, I'm a life path 5. And oh, by the way, the human collective is in a life path, is in a 5-year this year. 2021 adds up to 5.
Okay.
5 is the number of adventure, of curiosity, of growth, of expansion, of exploration, inward, outward, all of it. So I think there is an innate biocircuitry, energetic circuitry, whatever we want to call it. I'm hardwired to some extent to be this way. I can't not be this way. I'll die of boredom, which has happened. I mean, I didn't literally die, obviously, because I'm here, but metaphorically speaking, oh my God, it's like if there's nothing to explore and be curious about, I stagnate.
Yeah.
Very cesspool.
Very good. Well, I fear our time is kind of winding up here, but what would you like anyone that's listened to your story, that's felt inspired by your energy and your perspective, and kind of what would be this last little grain of wisdom that you might like to share about how to move forward in the midst of change or challenges that happen in life?
Well, at 52, having been around the block a few times, I think I would like to say three things.
Great.
One is change is the constant in our life. It doesn't mean we don't make plans. It doesn't mean we don't dream. It doesn't mean we don't desire. It doesn't mean we don't aspire. It means all of that, but we do so with detachment. It's like holding out your palm and saying, I want to see a monarch butterfly, but for all you know, what might land is some other kind of butterfly altogether. And don't poo-poo it, because you just don't know what gift that little butterfly will bring you. Or to use a car metaphor, you might have your eyes set on that gorgeous red Ferrari with the die-cast wheels and the retro dashboard and all of that. And the universe goes, but look, I got a yellow Lamborghini right here. It's right here. And you're like, no, red Ferrari. I want my red. And the universe goes, fine, just keep waiting till I can line up a red Ferrari for you. So it's open your, just lean into your desire and dreams with that little bit of detachment. Don't be so tied to it that it becomes your ball and chain.
I love
Don't
that.
do that. I think the second part of it is very, very quickly, there's a difference between strength and resilience. Most people, we talk about the mental mindset and it's all about strength and willpower and all of that. But resilience is a katana blade. It flexes. It'll go and it'll come back, but it's still sharp enough to cut. Mm-hmm. We are not really built to be resilient. We're conditioned into being strong, but not resilient. So cultivate resilience. And this is actually a program I'm working on, and I call it Get Gritty with It. So it's about developing emotional grit. We might even do a little Will Smith style, get jiggy with it, we get gritty with it. So, and maybe we'll twerk. We may even twerk. So
why not?
Why not, right? Resilience, really cultivating our inner, especially emotional resilience, because that's when we can hunker down. And even when the sands of life are blowing around us, we can just be hunkered down and allow it to just kind of flow over and pass us. So I think that's the second perspective I would offer. But I think the most important lesson I have learned in all of this is that life is a messy, mysterious, magical, marvelous adventure. Yeah. And if you're not living your life as you, unabashedly, unapologetically, authentically you, nothing is worth it. Everything is happening at the level of circumstance and fact. And there is no good or bad. That's just our perception.
Right.
Lean into whatever is happening, learn from it, grow from it, expand from it, keep moving forward. That's life. Just have fun with it.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Vidya, this was a great interview. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your freaking awesome energy, and all your fun. Wait, what was the tweak?
Try, tweak, twerk.
Try, tweak, twerk.
TTT. It's a TTT. Try, tweak, twerk.
Good. Well, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure getting to share some time with you today. Thanks for sharing your story, your energy, your insights. I know that everyone who's listened has taken away something really valuable from it. So thank you.
And thank you for having me on board. This was so much fun. And speaking of pivoting, I think we should share this real quickly. We almost didn't make it today. Thanks to a confluence of focus and concentration and Mercury retrograde and all kinds of other cosmic, woo-woo, mystical, messy, mysterious, magical, marvelous stuff. We got a delayed start. We punted, we pivoted, we landed on our feet, and here we are, and we did this. And I think modeled what we were talking about.
Yes, that's so true, Vidya. Thank you so much for that, for pivoting, for being gracious, for being open to the experience. And we did it, and we'll keep doing it, because I have a feeling that's who we are and who we want to inspire others to be as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was fun.